Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily.
It really feels like the cat with the laser pointer. It's like you've led the cat up to the top of the building, and now you're leading it over the edge.
President Trump is rebalancing trade around the world and making things more fair for the American people.
I think that anytime the deep state can like over-capitalize in whatever situation they have, they're going to.
But the rest of it is a very well-organized and well-funded color revolution operation of the type they run all over the world again and again and again to destabilize entire society.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily. It's Friday. Made it through another week. Joined by the one and only Chris Paul. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Another week indeed.
Another
An exciting week.
What's that?
I said there was a lot of exciting stuff this week. It was kind of an exciting week.
Yeah, this was a very action-packed week, especially here at Badlands. Had some big stuff, but yeah, here we are, man. Made it through, and just got word late last night that my parents are going to be coming down, so that's always panic in the household. So hopefully,
Why is that panic?
You know how women are when if it's my parents coming, like everything has to be perfect, or they feel, it's like if it's not perfect, they feel like my parents are going to judge them or something, even though we've been married 17 years and she's a daughter to them, but yeah, you know how it gets, man. So I'm sure all
I think I met your mother and she seemed pretty easygoing.
She's very easygoing. That's the craziest part. Like the most easygoing. Yeah. They were at Gart Cocoa Beach for a couple of the days.
Yeah.
And good time, man.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into the show. And before we do that, let's go ahead and get a word from a sponsor first. And we'll talk a little bit about Valentine's Day coming up and your need to get some soft disclosure.
The following ad is rated M for mature. Soft Disclosure wants you to get naked this Valentine's Day with limited edition his and her bundles that save you 20% off the individual retail prices. Proprietary oil infusions, grass-finished beef tallow, goat's milk from American goats, locally grown herbs and ingredients. Soft Disclosure is putting America First fruits on your skin.
And for these sexy bundles, we've added an all-new boar's haired beard brush and a solid jade gua sha. And the reason I'm here is because Alpha doesn't know how to say these words.
Gusha. His, hers. We need a moment to calm down. Don't hide your skin. Disclose it. Get naked this Valentine's Day with Soft Disclosure. Head over to softdisclosure.com and save 20% off individual retail prices with our his and hers customizable bundles, and use promo code NAKED to save 15% off the rest of the site. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. Promo code does not apply to bundle discounts.
All right, there you have it. Softdisclosure.com. Promo code NAKED, which is one of the scents for Soft Disclosure. Or by sense, I guess naked would mean no scent. So, because I have the vanilla citrus. That's what I have. It smells fantastic.
I like that one. And the vanilla coffee. What is it? The tallow?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, guys. So after the show, jump on over to the Badlands shop, badlandsmedia.tv/shop, and discover what you've been missing, from baseball bats to boomerangs, home goods to home safety essentials. Every dollar spent fuels freedom by supporting family business. fellow Badlanders, and Badlands creators who share your values. You're not just getting great gear, you're strengthening the movement that keeps Badlands Media thriving. Thank you for supporting businesses that support Badlands Media. Head on over to badlandsmedia.tv/shop or click shop on the main menu at badlandsmedia.tv. All right. And also smash that thumbs up if you have not done so already. And let's jump into the news. So yesterday I was supposed to go. I told you guys I was supposed to go on the Stinchfield show and do that segment on the Kemp thing. Excuse me. It turns out, and I did not know this, Chris, I was completely and totally unaware, but I've now been established my pecking order on the order of importance, and it turns out I'm below Donald Trump. So I didn't know this. I was very disappointed. I put up a fight. I was like, come on, he's just the president of the United States. No, President Trump did his press conference during the segment that I was supposed to do yesterday. And it was cool because we had it set up where I was going to do it because he's historically late, right? Fashionably late to his own press conferences. Nope. He was right on time this time.
Wow. Well, that's fun.
So I got bumped. I'll be doing it tonight at 7 p.m. before Why We Vote. They promised to have me out by 7:20. So
being of lower rank than Donald Trump is still a promotion from what you were the day before in the eyes of Stinchfield. So
that's true.
There you go.
That is a good point. But, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm a little disappointed there. I think, what shocks me about this? I was actually talking to somebody before the show because I had to clarify a mistake that they made in one of their articles, just a little whatever. Nobody in the mainstream has picked this story up. Not one person in the mainstream. I'm talking WAPO, New York Times, CNN, Fox, even Fox News. None of them.
Interesting. Didn't Media Matters write something about it? Or was that about your guys' show last week?
That was about our show last week.
Yeah. Right. Damn, that's crazy. You would think that they would want to thwart that or something. Or maybe it's just one of those things that you have to ignore.
It's, I said this the other day. I think it was last night on SitRep. I was saying it's a former U.S. senator under oath, saying that the director of the GBI was told by the governor of a swing state not to do an investigation, and nobody's interested in that in the mainstream. I mean, we know why, but even that is shocking to me.
Yeah, I know that you guys discussed this on Devolution the other night. I don't remember if you talked about this angle in particular, but the idea that Trump wanted the 4-year delay on election fraud coming out, for instance, or needed the 4-year timeline for whatever reason, they were going to do their own investigations, take that information and have it under their control throughout that time, etc. It puts a different spin on what Brian Kemp might have been doing, right? If he was under potentially orders from Trump to keep that information aside, maybe there's something different going on there. I can't wait to see, obviously, how this stuff turns out, because, this was our full focus for at least all of 2021 and most of 2022, I think. And then a lot of people who are aligned with us in many ways kind of ignored the election fraud thing after that. They were told after multiple cycles, the Glenn Youngkin cycle, the midterm cycle of 2022, they were told that elections weren't the biggest problem, that we could still win elections and we needed to focus harder on winning elections. So I don't know. There's a lot still to develop from that. I'm interested to see where it goes.
Well, one of the things I actually picked up on this morning, I've got an article from Just the News on Georgia here. And, there was a link in there that specifically talked about Brian Kemp and election investigations. And so, I checked, I checked the sourcing on that, and I did not know the timing. So Governor Kemp signed off on Joe Rossi's hand count discrepancies, right? The discrepancies between the machine count and the hand count being off by almost 7,000 ballots that were completely manufactured to get the counts to match. So when I saw the date on it, the date was November 2021 that Brian Kemp sent that letter to the state election board saying, hey, you need to investigate this. This is legit. But then on the same token, he's telling Vic Reynolds, we're not going to investigate this, despite Vic Reynolds saying that this is compelling evidence. So it's kind of the timing on that is just kind of off to me.
Yeah.
You know, and again, you know, Sidney Powell reshared my post and saying that this is right around the time. Look at the way that Brian Kemp, you know, changed his tone following the death of Harrison Deal. So, you know, lots of things to unpack in this, but I just wanted to point that out. Let's go ahead and go. Did you want to add more?
Go ahead.
I mean, if you got more, we'd love to hear it.
No, man. I just I was going to say Sidney Powell, I think, was aligned with the push to direct responsibility to Venezuela for the machine fraud a few weeks ago. Was she not?
She was.
Yeah, I was a little surprised to see that, but hey.
Yeah. I mean, and then we got the story from Reuters. You know, I wrote something up this morning on it because I have a source that's very familiar with that incident. And there's already bad information. I mean, I heard, I'm not going to name names, but I'm sure you can figure it out, saying on InfoWars yesterday that they had a warrant and that they seized the machines in Puerto Rico. That's not true. Puerto Rico asked them to come down there and investigate. They didn't need a warrant. They were invited.
The Puerto Rico thing is really interesting too, because Trump has a relationship with Puerto Rico. You know, he talked about bringing pharmaceutical manufacturing to Puerto Rico to try to make their, territory profitable and prosperous. And you remember the hurricane, the paper towels. Yeah, there was investigation after investigation into some of the funding stuff that Trump was doing with Puerto Rico. There's a fun dig there. It's been a couple years since I reviewed that stuff, but there is a fun dig there if people want to get into it. I suggest that's a good place to look.
Yeah, fascinating. But all right, so let's I went off on a little tangent there and I apologize. But let's go ahead and jump into this story here. Just the news. President Trump formally launches Trump RX that lowers prescription drug prices. This is in response to the most favored nation status press conference he held a couple weeks ago. And I was, when that happened, I was saying this is one of the most significant actions in healthcare in this country in a long, long, long time in pulling it in and getting it under control. It says Americans purchasing prescription drugs through the portal will see lower cost on 40 of the most popular and expensive medications in the country, including Ozempic and Wegovy. Ozempic will fall from around $1,028 per dose to an average of $350, and Wegovy will fall from a monthly $1,349 to a low to $199 a month. Americans are set to save more than $2,000 per cycle of fertility drugs on average as well. And before I jump over to the website, it's interesting that the two drugs they mentioned there are Ozempic and Wegovy. Is that how you say it? Wegovy?
Wegovy, I think, yeah.
Wegovy, whatever the case is. They're GLP-1s. These are the drugs that people take because, if you're taking a GLP-1 for reasons other than weight loss, I apologize for the comment I'm about to make, but it's for people that are lazy and just want a medical fix for, unhealthy lifestyles. Yeah, I mean, I do realize there's thyroid problems and things like that people have, but the Ozempic is dangerous. And I'm saying this from personal experience, not, I'm not medical advice. Okay. You got to say that. But I have somebody very close to me in my family that's taking it right now. And they're doing this despite the fact that another person very close in my family took it and it started eating their muscles. Like their muscles just like their muscle, structure just disappeared. Their legs look like chicken wings down.
Jeez.
It's not. And once you're on it, there's certain conditions that people have that they're on it for life. And, to put this front and center like that is strange, man.
Yeah, that's definitely strange. The whole thing is kind of strange. I was reading an article in an outlet called Pharma Voice, which I think is like an industry kind of magazine. And they were worried that this was going to cut the insurance companies out of the picture. That was the primary concern in the article. In fact, here, let me just go ahead and share it. I just posted it to, go ahead.
When he did the most favored nation status, he said the insurance companies are next. And I don't think we've seen that yet, but hopefully that is next now that Trump RX is fully rolled out. And
I agree with you. Yes, and the fact that this is coming out this week and that this is one of the major kind of targets that Trump has talked about over the last few years, and a lot of people look back to that speech he gave at the Whirlpool factory back in, I think it was August of 2020, talking about how these middlemen were really the power source that seemed to be presenting a threat to Trump's presidency and his life and whatever. I don't mean to over dramatize that. It was just really interesting, provocative comments at the time. So here's the article in Pharma Voice, but all of that stuff, I guess the conclusion on that, all that stuff was directed at the insurance companies, the middlemen, and it seems like this is another strike against them. Here's that article. Let me expand that a little bit.
All right, let's see. Read this. I'm going to see what this says.
Trump RX refers consumers to drug manufacturer websites where they can buy discounted drugs directly from more than a dozen drug companies that made deals with the administration. The terms of those deals have been largely hidden from public view, which has triggered a FOIA lawsuit by Public Citizen demanding more information, specifically about the agreements with Pfizer and Eli Lilly. And they also mentioned earlier that Elizabeth Warren and a couple of other senators are trying to get an OIG, Health and Human Services OIG investigation into all of this. And so then you get into the inspectors general issues that I think we've talked about a couple of times. John and I have definitely discussed on devolution. Pharma DTC sites, including those accessed through Trump RX, typically offer cash pay pricing, meaning patients can't use their insurance plans to cover the cost. This structure bypasses the usual pharmacy benefit manager intermediaries, allowing direct purchases and lower prices from drug makers. In many cases, the discounted prices offered through these websites are more than a patient would pay if they went through insurance. As a result, the program may only benefit uninsured Americans, which is about 8% of the country, those with high deductibles, or patients with insurance that doesn't cover a specific drug. In addition, pharma companies have already raised prices on many Trump RX listed drugs this year, as if that's like some slight to Trump. While federal programs won't pay for medicines on Trump RX, the senators said they fear the initiative will still end up costing taxpayers money. They're concerned that the DTC advertising, including in relation to Trump RX, will steer customers to prescriptions that may be reimbursed by federal health programs, creating the potential for unnecessary or wasteful spending, as if that's not already happening.
Are they saying that this is a bad thing because now uninsured people will know that
the uninsured people are going to be the only ones saving money on this? That's a problem. And they're trying to insinuate that the drug prices will be higher than they cost for people with insurance to get those same drugs. So they're kind of trying to say, this is going to hurt the insurance companies who are actually giving you a better deal. But
they're not.
Right, exactly. If you've ever lived without health insurance, you know that living without health insurance is actually far cheaper, even with slightly advanced prices for doctor visits and drugs and the rest of it, than it is to just buy health insurance.
I mean, sometime last year, we played a clip of a guy that owns a DTC pharmacy, a direct-to-consumer pharmacy, meaning people that don't have insurance and pay cash. And I mean, you're talking drugs that he's selling for $7. If you have insurance, they go for $250, $300, that kind of thing. Who wrote that article? And who did you said it cited Elizabeth Warren?
Yes. Let me pull it back up.
I'm shocked because I'm not shocked, but this is like a desperate attempt by the big pharma owned, members.
This is a pharmaceutical industry magazine read by people in the pharmaceutical industry. You know what I mean? So it's like them talking to themselves about their concerns. They're not trying to sway people here. Wow. I don't think in the same way. Yeah. So pharmavoice.com, why Trump RX is stumbling before it gets off the ground. And so this was 2 days ago. So they were even ahead of the Trump announcement. Not that it was like a secret what the plans were going to be, but I would encourage everybody to read that article.
That's nuts. Well, here's Trump RX, and You can see some of the comparisons here of Gonal F. I don't even know what that's for, but 1400 down to 355. I think they have like a, oh, my screen's freezing up here. Probably a lot of people on this website right now. So here you can see some of the comparisons. And this is funny because this to me looks like, I don't know what to describe this as, like maybe like an Amazon page, like was $13.49, now just $149, was $458.05, now just $51. Like this is incredible.
I think this goes right hand in hand with his right to try efforts in 2020. You know, the idea that there are all these experimental medications out there. There are drugs that people want to try. What do they call it? Off-brand, not off-brand. Is it off-brand?
Generic.
Well, no. So sorry, that's not the
off script.
That's where you want to try a prescription drug for something that they're not allowed to prescribe it for. And so the right to try stuff comes up in there. We're seeing a lot more, like a proliferation, I would say, a new industry of, internet-based prescriptions, internet-based doctor visits. They give you a prescription, you buy them. And then a lot of these websites popping up where you can buy prescription medications just with a direct consult with their sales team, essentially. And so, a lot of people would be like, well, this is like a boon to the pharmaceutical companies. People can access drugs a lot easier and skip over the doctors and all of that. And yeah, that is possibly true, but it's also putting healthcare back in the hands of the people and saying, hey, you're actually responsible for figuring out what you should be putting in your body. Okay. Like you go to this place and they tell you, hey, I heard this little tiny thing in your heart or whatever, like start taking this drug. We saw that your cholesterol is just a little bit high. Just start taking this drug. And it like just funnels you right into that kind of the pharma churn because you trust the doctor and you go to the doctor. Well, if the healthcare responsibility falls more back on the person until there's something they actually need to see a doctor for, and the preventative care and the rest of it, well, then you got to start developing healthy habits and you have to start thinking in that mindset. So yeah. I'm not mad at this, even if it provides short-term benefits for pharma. People need to return to taking responsibility for their health.
Well, given the shot that this is, and the reaction from the pharmaceutical industry and the insurance industry, hopefully we do have, something coming down the road for, taking shots at the insurance company itself, the insurance industry itself. I know we've talked about the, just paying the insurance fees directly to the people and letting them shop on their own. Again, I'm not a big fan of that. I think there's going to be a ton of fraud that gets mixed up in that when the government starts just putting cash in people's. Not to mention,
right, you could just eliminate the government from the picture because exactly. What it is the employer funding the insurance. Right. Okay.
That's where I was going to go. It's not something the government should be doing in the first place.
Right. But then the employer, but the last part of that is the employer could then take that money that they're putting off to the health insurance and add that to a person's salary, right? So that the financial aspect would even out as far as the individual is concerned. And then that individual could go and make market-based choices on what the best solution for them is. And if people want to have the safety and security and stability, they think, of the health insurance provider, well, then they can go out and purchase that on their own.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the chat correct is it's off-label, not off-script.
Off-label. There you go.
Yeah, off-label.
Thank you.
So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but doesn't Medicaid and Medicare ultimately define the prices that people are paying from insurance? Now, of course, there's non-insurance, pricing and everything else like that. But isn't that ultimately set by what Medicaid and Medicare is willing to pay for certain procedures? And therefore the insurance company's like, well, hey, if they're charging it and they're paying it, we can get the same, or the hospitals, excuse me, are saying we can get the same from the insurance companies.
Yeah. Well, they're essentially the biggest player in the market, so they can manipulate market conditions and they regulate all the companies. You know, the government is just the government. It doesn't matter whether it's Medicare on one side. It's not like Medicare is making their own independent decisions from the rest of the government. So the part of government that writes regulations for pharma companies and insurance companies and the rest of it is the same government providing the different insurance plans that are major market forces.
It is such a crappy system. But we did talk earlier about GLP-1s, right? And the shots. So let's go ahead.
Can I say one thing about the crappy system?
Yeah, sure.
Like, yes, there's tons of corruption and tons of waste and tons of abuse and tons of exploitation. The system is literally built to exploit the people. That is what it's designed for. There's just also a way to get out of that, and it's by not accessing the system. Yep. And if you choose to stop accessing the system in as many ways as you can, you end up building up parallel economies because other people businesses want to serve the growing market of people who do not want to access the system. And that's like actually how we get outside it. Because if people, again, want the ease and the consistency and the comfort and the regularity of the system as it exists, despite the fact that it exploits them, well, then that system is going to persist. And from the system's perspective, it's not even a bad argument to say, hey, these people want what I'm offering, you know, and no matter how bad I make it, they keep wanting it. So as a business owner, as a capitalist, you know, and that's always the thing you go back to, what would you have me do? And there's nothing to that argument. It's not moral, but
yeah,
it makes sense.
When we talk about parallel systems, we always think of, you know, stuff that you buy and consume on the daily and not necessarily medicine. And last week when Kevin Warsh was announced as the Fed chair, you know, I brought up the point that we don't really like. People were saying, well, this guy's coming from all the swampy, you know, financial institutions. And I was like, that's because we don't have any parallel infrastructure in the alternative there. I mean, you can make the argument for Bitcoin as a standalone, but even then, you know, there's the people that are now regulating, and I use that term very loosely, but involved in it are from those same financial institutions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I agree with you. There's not another way. And even with the Bitcoin thing, that doesn't provide a 60-year-old man with a 35-year experience in that parallel economy, potentially, you know. So that's emergent. Maybe in 30 years, that'll be enough for someone to have that kind of experience to be able to operate a system like this. But in the current layout, it doesn't.
All right. Well, we're going to get into our next sponsor real quick. I do want to read this comment real quick from M.I. White in the chat. It says, a different GLP-1 is Zepbound. My doctor did tell me it does go for muscle. And he said, you can counter it by lifting weights. It works and does not lose weight as fast. Lost 12 pounds over 4 weeks. Imagine taking a drug that they're like, in order to counter this drug, eating your muscles, you need to lift weights. And I mean, great. It's good to lift weights, but to counter something like that, that's scary. But all right, let's talk a little bit about an alternative. If you or someone you know loves, or someone you love struggles with blood sugar and A1C, you need to hear this. It's well known that the expensive meds and the popular shots have dangerous side effects. Well, Creator's Bounty has developed the perfect alternative. It's an herbal supplement called Elohetrium. Elohetrium is a 100% natural formula that is proven to dramatically lower your blood sugar and your A1C. It uses 7 healthy ingredients, no stimulants, no junk. These 7 ingredients would cost you over $150 if you bought them all separately. But here's the best part. There are no bad side effects, only good ones. We're talking sugar cravings gone, inflammation reduced, and stable energy all day with 0 crashes. Seriously, most people are getting better results than they did on the harsh meds, but without the risk. Elohetrium is made in the USA at an FDA-registered facility, fully tested, and is backed by a no questions asked 90-day money-back guarantee. The friendly folks at Creator's Bounty offer fast and free shipping 5 days a week from Oklahoma. Head on over to creatorsbounty.com/rumble and take advantage of this special offer today. I got me my bottle right there. Elohetrium, meaning in Cherokee, it means earth trim.
Nice.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, they sent me a very nice letter earlier. And, you know, I told Alpha yesterday, I was reading it. I was like, this is going to be just a generic letter. And it was very personalized. Like, Oh yeah, we used to live in Florida and all this cool stuff. Very cool people. So thank you guys for sponsoring today's show, and check them out.
Good stuff.
All right, President Trump at the prayer breakfast yesterday made an announcement. They're going to have a National Prayer Day in D.C. Check this out.
To support this exciting renewal this morning, I'm pleased to announce that on May 17th, 2026, that we're inviting Americans from all across the country to come together on our national mall to pray, to give thanks, and we are going to do something that everyone said, like, that's tough. We're going to rededicate America as one nation under God. You know, a lot of people... Yeah, thank you very much. It's good. That's what I mean by the Spirit. It's so incredible to see it. I see it so much. I've never seen anything like it.
All right, so there we have it. May 17th. It'll be a beautiful day in Washington, D.C., and we're going to have prayer in the National Mall again. Let's go.
Yeah, great.
We got some updates on the Hillary Clinton debacle. This is just turning into, like, we played. Did you watch any of Bessent's testimony in front of Congress the other day?
I saw the Gregory Meeks clip and maybe a couple others, but I didn't watch the entire.
I mean, every clip is just absurdly retarded, and this is turning into the same thing now. Whether or not it's going to be a deposition, whether it's going to be a hearing, whether everybody's going to get their clips, whatever the case might be, they're like, if we're not going to get it in the hearing with cameras and C-SPAN and everything else, let's do it now on X. Hillary Clinton, 6 months we engaged. For 6 months, we engaged Republicans on the Oversight Committee in good faith. We told them what we know under oath. They ignored all of it. They moved the goalposts and turned accountability into an exercise in distraction. So let's stop the games. If you want this fight, James Comer, let's have it in public. You love to talk about transparency. There's nothing more transparent than a public hearing. Cameras on. We will be there. And then Comer went on to Benny Johnson to talk about this, and just so bad.
Big breaking news this morning. Hillary Clinton challenging you, saying, let's do this testimony in public. Her post has gone up. And even though the comments are locked, it's going quite viral. And so I would love to simply ask, will this testimony be in public, Mr. Chairman?
It will be public. We have the video camera, the audio camera, and the transcript. So everyone in America will see that. We always release. I've never done a deposition where we didn't release the transcript and the audio and video if we have that. This is a standard congressional deposition, which is what the Clintons agreed to. And the standard congressional deposition is you are deposed for however long it takes, and it will be recorded, both video, audio, as well as transcript that will be made public. So it is going to be public.
But it will not be live. So this will not be live streamed.
Well, we hadn't planned on it being live, but I mean, we're seeing the legality of that, and it's never been done before. But look, the Clintons keep moving the goalposts. In her tweet against me, she was completely dishonest in what she says, and we're trying to get all the emails gathered up. We've been negotiating with her attorneys for 6 months now, and they are the ones that move the goalposts. So either Hillary Clinton's being lied to by her attorney, or Hillary Clinton just lied. But either way, the only people that move the goalpost are the Clintons. And here they are again, 48 hours after they agreed to come in for the deposition, trying to move the goalpost again for what I think she means is like a public hearing. And I'll say this, look, this is what Jim Jordan did with Jack Smith.
All right. I just can't even take this shit anymore. This is so it's just so stupid. Like, what do they think they're going to get from the Clintons on Epstein?
Opt out, buddy.
I mean, I have. This is a daily news show. This is newsworthy. Former presidents.
Oh, it is. It is. It is. Yeah,
It's
man. There's no one who I would rather see hold the Clintons' feet to the fire than the guys who have spent the last 5 years doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, if they got some shocking admission, what are they going to do? Throw it over to DOJ, who's going to do absolutely nothing and get tied up for 10 years on whether or not Bill Clinton has immunity long after he's dead. They'll still be talking about. And granted, there is a little bit of precedent that they set with President Trump and his persecutions, but it's so stupid, man. I just,
what in the world is the Congress doing deposing people? What is that? Like, I don't feel like that's an old thing. I don't remember that from prior to the January 6th thing. And maybe I'm just totally off base here, but why aren't they just having a normal hearing in a normal congressional setting?
well, so normally what they do is, like, whenever you see somebody, doing one of these hearings, they're usually deposed. There's a behind closed doors hearing
yes.
that they do where they can actually discuss. It's the most retarded thing, dude. Like, because they go out there and they do, these hearings, and 5 minutes from every single person. And if they brought the Clintons out and did that, you would get 5 minutes of Democrats saying, "Oh, Bill, we miss you so much. You were so great in the 90s, best ever, blah, blah, blah." And then you'll get the Republicans like, just where did you fly on the Lolita Express? Why was Epstein in the White House 17 times? And he'll just be like, executive privilege. I was the president. Executive privilege. It's a fucking dog and pony show, man. And it is just,
yeah, man, I'm looking some of this up right now. Apparently the depositions, some form of deposition has been around since the early republic, but this sort of thing is much more recent, late 20th century kind of thing, where the staff gives these formal depositions. But yeah, regardless, there's something very strange here going on. And the fact that they set up this story with the mirrored story of Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro refusing to appear before the illegitimate Congress a few years ago. The fact that it is a mirrored version of a story that we've seen before already should throw all the signals up. Something is definitely wrong here. Benny Johnson and James Comer. I mean, gosh, man, so ridiculous.
why are they negotiating? There is no negotiating on a subpoena. You don't.
But is there really any legitimate original constitutional support for the idea that the federal government can subpoena individuals to depose them for crimes that the federal government has created?
I agree with that.
I mean, the whole thing is so convoluted at this point.
Well, it's even worse than that. They haven't identified a crime. It's like they're in search of a crime.
We have to make these people say things. God, man. Why would anybody want a government that can do that?
What do we ever get from Congress? Everything we ever get from Congress. We got the contempt from Navarro and Bannon, right? But every other thing is perjury. They perjured themselves. They lied to us. Well, you're a wholly illegitimate body in the first place, so lying is, whatever.
Steve Bannon went to prison and came out with a great tan.
Well, he was in solitary. No, you're good. You're good. It's just, I'm with you, man. Like this, I want to see justice more than anything. It's not going to come from Congress. Congress is the only thing that they can even do. Their authority, their statutory authority is to do nothing more than ask about legislation. What legislation are you going to get out of hampering the Clintons about whether or not they did anything with that? Like, that's DOJ. DOJ should be the one deposing them. Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, all those people should be the ones deposing the Clintons over what happened with Epstein. I don't care what they say to Congress. I really don't.
This is what I think is happening, and I don't know this. Obviously, I can't possibly know this, but Donald Trump is distinct from the Republican Party, and we are in a cycle of fake midterms right now that there's going to be a lot of attention on. And if Donald Trump is the only one who can claim credit for actually having accomplished anything, it's going to be real hard to elect establishment rhinos or get anyone to go out and pretend to vote in a fake election. it's the interest in these things, if the Republican Party isn't doing anything, is going to be very minimal. And the storylines aren't going to work for them if Trump gets all the credit and the executive branch is the one doing everything. So I would suggest that they're probably trying to figure out how they can get some sort of win for the Republican establishment.
I mean, they can run on the Epstein Transparency Act. It's just,
they got it.
It's so stupid, man. I'm hoping that we get some, we're obviously exposing the election malfeasance. And once Georgia's established, and it's got to move quick, man. We got to move lightning quick on this, as quick as possible, while still preserving an investigation that has integrity. Preserving the integrity of the investigation. It's got to be fast, and it's got to be something that can, get fast moving legislation. Not that they're going to do anything, right? We saw Thune the other day talking about how roads and highways and everything else was more important than our elections. But we did.
Well, you saw Donald Trump's post yesterday. Were you going to bring that up?
I don't have that. Pull that up real quick.
Oh, wow. Here, check this out.
I did not see that.
He posted about the SAVE Act. And today's one of the days that he goes and posts like 50 bullshit boomer memes. And so it's going to be really hard to find this.
All right. Well, I'll cover this story while you're doing it. Because
okay.
Just the news, Georgia set to reform voting system to prioritize paper ballots hand counting ahead of the midterms. Georgia is on the verge of reforming its voting system to prioritize the paper ballot and hand count verification for touchscreen early votes. That's kind of a little bit of a backwards thing there. It's supposed to be touchscreen for to verify hand counts. But anyways, if finalized, the legislation will likely be implemented before the 2026 election year. The bill would mandate hand-marked paper ballots for use on election day, which would be tabulated by machine. It's a red flag for me, but read on. It says during early voting, Georgia voters would be able to choose between filling out a paper ballot by hand or selecting candidates on their touchscreen machines. The touchscreen system would print out a paper ballot receipt that the bill would require that poll workers would hand count. Okay, so to address concerns that this new process would take too long to provide results, all touchscreen early votes would include a QR code that could be scanned to provide unofficial results. Official results, however, would only be reported after the hand count.
Oh, gosh.
Well,
imagine getting the unofficial count and saying, President Donald Trump has unofficially won the election. I mean, it's just a recipe for ridiculous dramatization of this. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No. So you're right, and I think that the main thing here would be not necessarily coming out and saying, "Oh, the unofficial results," but saying the unofficial results show that Joe Biden won the election, and then the hand count comes out, and you say, "Well, actually, it's Donald Trump that won the election." That's one possibility, and that saying that we had it in 2024.
Mayhem.
Right. Then the other problem is what happens if they do the QR code count and it's wildly different and they sweep it under the rug, like we've seen they did in 2020. When between Joe Rossi's report, between the 511,000 votes they had in Fulton, and then somehow miraculously came up with 527,000. Like when you look at those numbers, you can't trust the system. And then 5 years later, you finally get the physical ballots, and we still don't know anything about the physical ballots other than that they have them. And so, like, I get I get it. And this is something when I was talking to Mark Cook about this a while back, and, he's all for the hand count precinct level, and so am I. Mm-hmm. But I also said that you could have some fashion where you can do like an instant count, almost like Georgia proposed here, although I don't like the QR code thing, but to put out official results and verify them with the official count of a hand count. Because a hand count, I guess it takes longer. I don't know. All my life, I remember hand counting ballots, and it didn't take any longer. But
but we're supposed to be swayed by the fact that there are like 350 million Americans now. First of all, no, there aren't. And that all the voting centers are so centralized at this point that there's just too many of them to like look at and mark down and look at and mark down. The solution is small precincts all over the place, decentralize it as much as possible. That's obviously the solution. And the idea that small precincts, if a precinct can handle 1,000 ballots, then every precinct only handles 1,000 ballots. And you just count those 1,000 ballots and that's it. And you make it whatever it has to be so that the job can be done. And that's it. It's not a difficult problem to solve. It's so crazy that this even comes up as an issue that, oh, it's going to take too long. It already takes 6 weeks.
Yeah, right.
And the truth is we still don't have an answer on 2020. And there are still ongoing court cases from 2020. And a so-called president went and pretended to be legitimate in office for 4 years, despite the election being under contest. So yeah, they're like, oh no, all the constitutional rules were adhered to. We went through the process as the Constitution demands. No, you went through a convoluted process that you created that is way above the Constitution and not the same thing. And then just operated the system with all the loopholes you put into it. That's what happened.
Yeah, spot on. I mean, I read the bill. We're going to probably talk about it a little bit on why we vote tonight. But so at first I was thinking, because there was in following 2020 and 2022, there was a rule, not a law, but a rule that required precincts to count the number of ballots that they had, not to hand count and tally them, but to actually count the number. And so when I read this at first, that's what I thought they were saying. I thought they were saying that we're still going to run them through machines, but we're just going to hand count to make sure that if it says we have 200 ballots, we actually have 200 ballots. That's not the case. It actually says that they're going to tabulate it by a hand count, which I'm all for that.
Sure.
The problem is if you do it first on the machine and the results are different, you're going to have a huge crisis. Because you're going to have one side saying, hey, the machine said this. Well, look at the physical ballots. This is what they said. And granted, any common, any person with half a brain would say, well, the hand count is the one that's official. That's the one that we count. But they'll make some stupid litigative argument, litigation and tie this up for years. It's just the way that they do this.
Of course.
I don't know, man. I think I'm with you. I saw you said when I was on last week on DPH, you were saying they're just going to put in a new system. They're just going to get you now to the point where you are yearning for a new system and you bite all in on that system. And it turns out to be exactly what they wanted you to have. And you got to spend years unraveling how they've used that system, pre-planned manipulation to, get the outcome that they desire.
Yeah, there's no way that's not happening. And I've been saying that it was going to happen for 4 or 5 years now. It was obvious that at some point it would be clear to the public that our elections are rigged at minimum. Okay. And the Great Reset model requires a financial reset, but it requires a reset of a number of our systems. And of course, it requires a reset of the election system. The way they're going to do that with the financial system is they're going to bottom out the system as it exists, or at least that was the plan, right? And we can hope that Trump is thwarting these plans. But the point was to bottom out that system and make people lose faith in it so that when an alternative is offered, the people feel like they are being given a gift. Finally, the thing that was corrupted that led to all of these problems is now uncorrupted, and the problems are going to go away. And then all they have to do is show you, or really just tell you, that the problems have gone away, and everybody's going to believe that the problems have gone away, which should tell everybody that you don't know the problems exist in the first place, other than the TV telling you that they do. But yeah, that's my number one concern on the Patrick Byrne Venezuela bullshit, which is obviously bullshit for reasons we've discussed before. And the Georgia thing, by the way, I have no doubt that Georgia is stolen. I have no doubt that the election integrity people found out some real stuff and worked very hard and very faithfully. But you can see it being used as part of the same op right now to pass the SAVE Act or pass the MEGA Act. And then that'll just put us into a new system that's dependent on the legitimacy of the people in office right now who aren't legitimate and can't prove that they are legitimate. And we're elected in fake elections. And so we're going to get a limited hangout on how fake the elections are. And then we're going to get a system-oriented solution proposed and installed by the same system. So I don't know how anybody's okay with that.
Yep. Here's the part of that article that I alluded to earlier. In November 2021, 1 year after the 2020 presidential election, Governor Brian Kemp referred the quote-unquote sloppy and inconsistent election data maintained by the county to the state election board after multiple reviews found significant problems with absentee ballots. So that's the same month that he told Vic Reynolds to stand down, allegedly, allegedly, according to a former U.S. senator under oath.
Yeah, that Purdue thing's interesting too, because Purdue and Loeffler lost in obviously fake elections. Like the Georgia runoffs were even faker than the November 3rd, 20, even more obviously fake, I should say. They were definitely the same amount of fake, but it was considerably more obvious by that point because people were tuned into it.
Yeah, I think he went from Purdue went from winning by 90,000 votes, but didn't get over the 50% threshold. So he had to go to a runoff and ended up losing then in the runoff by 300,000 votes. That makes no sense to me. No sense. Yeah. So, all right, let's jump into this story here from the LA Times.
Wait, did you see the Trump post that I shared?
Oh, no. Let's get that in here. There we go. Read that out loud.
All right.
If you don't mind.
America's elections are rigged, stolen, and a laughingstock all over the world. We are either going to fix them or we won't have a country any longer. I'm asking all Republicans to fight for the following. Save America Act. And that's actually, it's just the SAVE Act, right?
Yes.
Number one, all voters must show voter ID, identification, exclamation point. Number two, all voters must show proof of United States citizenship to register for voting. And number three, no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel, exclamation point. So
the mail-in ballots isn't part of the SAVE Act, right?
I have not looked at the SAVE Act stuff in a little bit, but I don't remember either way.
I'm fact checking this real quick in real time because I don't think I've heard that. It would prohibit universal mail-in balloting.
Yeah.
Hold on. The SAVE Act, as introduced in the House and Senate and further developed in the Senate proposals like the Save America Act, would effectively end universal mail voting by requiring voters to submit an application to receive a mail ballot. This would eliminate the current method in 8 states, including Washington, D.C. Additionally, the bill would ban mail-in voter registration, requiring all applications to be submitted in person with documentary proof of citizenship. Absolutely. Sure, you want to mail in a ballot because you're too lazy to go in person, or you're not going to be here for some reason to go in person. Well, you got to go in person at some point. And that is not a, whatever. They'll probably cry that's a poll tax, but eliminate online voter registration in all 42 states that currently offer it. Amen. And require proof of citizenship to vote. Also, amen.
And in the meantime, in Virginia, that Spamberger person who was just installed in a fake election in Virginia is pushing for electronic voting.
Yeah.
So
is Arizona.
Electronic voting. Yeah.
So is Arizona. Arizona's doing cell phone voting for UOCAVA for the first time. Because what could possibly go wrong with that?
We chose the hose, and we are getting the hose.
We always choose the hose. We don't choose the hose. We don't choose the hose. They choose the hose for us because we can't choose them. And so,
a lot of people choose the hose because they are unwilling to let go of the system as their God. Like, we are a country of statists and materialists and should admit that. And as long as we think of the state as our God, and we think that all solutions must come from the state dictates how our life goes, we are going to give our power over to the state in elections and the rest of it. And we're going to keep getting the hose.
Yep. All right, let's jump into this story here from the LA Times. Karen Bass directed watering down of the Palisades fire after action report, sources say. And it's shocking to me that LA Times is putting this out, kind of an establishment rag. For nearly 2 months, Mayor Bass has repeatedly denied being involved in altering the after action report on the Palisades fire, downplaying failures by the city and Los Angeles Fire Department. 2 sources said that after receiving an early draft, the mayor told the interim fire chief, Ronnie Villanueva, that the report could expose the city to legal liabilities for those failures. Bass wanted key findings about the LA Fire Department's actions removed or softened before the report was made public, and that is what happened. Both confidant sources say that they are prepared to testify under oath to verify their accounts if the matter ends up in legal proceedings. Is this the statement? No, excuse me. The second source said, quote, all the changes that the Times reported on were the ones that Karen Bass wanted. The report was altered to deflect attention from the LA Fire Department's failure to pre-deploy crews to Pacific Palisades before the fire. In a statement, Bass's offer denied making those changes, saying that the mayor has been clear about her concerns regarding pre-deployment and the LA Fire Department's response to the fire. She called for an independent review of the Lackman Fire mop-up. Now, the Lackman Fire mop-up is what started the Palisades. They're claiming it. I guess it was a small little fire that they put out, and then it kind of just sat and smoldered, and then that's what rose up to eventually be the Palisades fire. It says, quote, there's absolutely no reason why she would request those details be altered or erased when she herself has been critical of the response to the fire. Full stop. She had this for months. This muckraking journalism this is muckraking journalism at its lowest form. They're eating their own. It is dangerous and irresponsible for the LA Times reporters to rely on third-hand, unsourced information to make unsubstantiated character attacks to advance a narrative that is false. Last month, Bass told the Times that she did not work with the fire department on the changes, nor did the agency consult her about any changes. Quote, the only thing I told them to do was I told them to talk to Matt Sabo about the budget and the funding, and that was it. However, last month, Fire Commission President Jennifer Hayes said that Villanueva told her in mid-August or later that a draft of the report was sent to the mayor's office for quote-unquote refinements. Hayes did not know what the refinements were, but she was concerned enough to consult a deputy city attorney about possible changes to that report. And then lastly, the after-action report included just a brief reference to the Lackman fire, a small January 1st blaze that rekindled 6 days later into the Palisades fire. The Times found that a battalion chief ordered firefighters to roll up their hoses and leave the Lackman burn area the day after the fire was supposedly extinguished, despite complaints by crew members that the ground was still smoldering. The Times reviewed text messages among firefighters and a third party sent in the weeks and months after the fire, describing the crew's concerns, and reported that at least one battalion chief assigned to the fire department risk management section knew about them for months. So, long way of saying Karen Bass has run her course with the establishment, and now they're turning on her. Just about 3 seconds of this clip. I love this. This is how you know somebody's guilty. Okay, wait, hold on. We do have due process. This is how you know somebody is concerned about what's about to come out.
Was it completely fabricated?
It was completely fabricated. And by the way, who are the sources?
In a lot.
Anytime somebody asks, by the way, who are the sources, after they've agreed to testify under oath, if necessary, is a shocking admission.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, though, if some of this was completely fabricated. The LA fires looked not natural in any way. The idea that a fire went out and then started up again 6 weeks later, or 6 days later, sorry, and just went around burning random houses, not the ones right next to each other, just a couple on each block occasionally in 3 totally separate parts of the city that are not even close to one another. I mean, the whole thing was absurd already. The excuses afterward were absurd. And the entire Rick Caruso thing, who is the guy that they are pushing as the solution to Karen Bass, that is as like neocon establishment sort of op as you could ever possibly imagine. And so, yeah, man, arm's length on all this stuff. Great to see the totally illegitimate commies in California go down, but you got to remember that there's another side to this. And if they're taking one of their own down, they're trying to replace that person with another one of their own. It's never another way. Okay. Absolutely. So when you see the system respond to these people, you got to understand they have a solution in place for that. And yeah, man, hands off on all this stuff until like the Trump factor, till that top level stuff becomes really clear about what's happening, all of this lower level stuff should be seen as the system manipulating stories and situations to give itself the best possible advantage and nothing else.
Yep. Before we move on to the ushering in of the JD Vance MAGA era, this is
same thing.
Yep.
Same thing.
Yep. We'll get into that. But I do want to hit another sponsor real quick, guys. They can freeze your accounts. They can shut off your cards. They can lock you out of your own money all overnight. Banks don't protect you. They control you. And that's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold, real gold on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. This isn't paper gold. This isn't an IOU. It is real gold without bank vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That's power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet, peer-to-peer and outside the banking system. No permissions, no middlemen, no cancel button. This wallet is yours forever. All right, and let's jump into JD Vance, the new MAGA. It's got Harry Enton doing the Trump dance. Doesn't it look like he's doing the Trump dance right there? Looks like he's doing the...
Yeah.
Anyways, check this clip out.
Favorably. So we're talking about something that, in my opinion, will very much be able to outlast Donald Trump. Trump is in term number 2. He can't run for a term number 3. But the bottom line is this. What he brought into the GOP looks like it's going to last long beyond him.
It's a very populist movement. I am curious because J.D. Vance would then be the next standard bearer of this movement. Where is the GOP on how they feel about him?
Yeah, okay. So, obviously J.D. Vance, the vice president of the United States, at this point looks like a favorite for the Republican nomination come 2028. And one of the reasons why he looks like a favorite is because the Republican base loves J.D. Vance. What are we talking about here? Someone who really represents the Make America Great Again movement. This is somebody a year ago, his favorable rating among Republicans, 81%. Latest Marquette University Law School poll, look at this, 84%. 84%. So if anything, his favorable rating is somewhat up from where it was a year ago after a year of Trump. And of course, that matches what we see when it comes to MAGA, right? It matches what we see coming to MAGA, whereby it was 74 and now it's 78%. If anything, MAGA's grip on the GOP, and it seems like the next in line to be the next standard bearer of MAGA, both of them, their favorable ratings are actually up after a year of Donald Trump's second term.
I'll let you take the first shots at this. This is your wheelhouse.
I mean, polls are fake. This is so silly. Harry Enton is like a weird clown on TV. I
love Harry Enton.
I just can't believe how much he's on there and how much he's like making body movements, how excited he pretends to be about this stuff. And at some point, man, it's so weird because MAGA is a label that I think all of us claim happily. Right? Make America great again. We can see what the ultimate push is there. We can see what it is that the people ultimately want. We can see that people's values stem from the original Constitution that we are told is still somehow active. And I think that there's something inspiring about understanding, you know what? The Constitution was usurped. We can actually get back to that, but we're going to have to focus on some principles, and we're going to have to put off some of the conditioning that we've been subject to over the course of our lives that leads us into thinking about politics in certain ways. MAGA is not just, its public branding does not match the thing I just described, right? The way that mainstream Americans think about MAGA includes Nick Fuentes and, of course, Tucker Carlson and Dan Bongino's and the Daily Weimar and Fox News and all of that. And then the influencer complex on Twitter that just spews out whatever, Turning Point USA, perfect example, just spews out whatever MAGA is supposed to believe. And it turns out that's not MAGA. That's a watering down of MAGA that is actually just a MAGA branding on the Con Inc. product. And so they are now giving us, this is the new standard bearer for MAGA. They're disseminating that to the public at large. So the mainstream people, even the ones who vote for Trump, think what it is to be MAGA is to support JD Vance in 3 years. That's mindless. We should be way past that right now, but we're not way past that because people who are accustomed to voting for Republicans always think that they are behind the 8 ball compared to Democrats. And so they are desperate at all times for allies. And that means we just welcome anybody in. Doesn't matter what their principles are. Doesn't matter that it's the same establishment we're trying to fight. It's we need these people. Otherwise, the Democrats are going to crush us. And so we just accept whatever scraps are thrown our direction. And all we end up doing is supporting the establishment rather than forcing the establishment to come to us and never leave. And it's, again, it's just surrender.
It's gaslighting. It is what I see it as right now. You were literally seeing the injection of the establishment GOP. And granted, it's been in MAGA for a while, but we've broadly resisted it, up until recently. And when I say we, I'm not talking about you, me, Badlands, Badlandia. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the new Con Inc. of podcasters and influencers on X and everything else that we see. And they're slowly bringing this in. And in terms of the mainstream, CNN would be the most fundamental place to start. You gradually start introducing this idea of MAGA is actually not going anywhere, guys. Hey, the Republican Party is now going to be rebranded as MAGA. And in reality, they're two totally different entities. I don't know a single person that I can talk to, in confidence and not, publicly, because there are still people that are afraid to say this publicly, but the Republican Party sucks. Absolutely sucks. And they'll say, yes, I love MAGA. MAGA should be its own party. But then, they'll go out and they'll be like, yeah, well, JD Vance, he's doing good things. Rick Scott's doing good things. And these other Republicans. And it's just, they're trying to now slowly introduce the idea that MAGA is going to be the new standard bearer, like you said, for the GOP. And JD Vance is going to be that next person up. And I don't think we're anywhere near that point. We shouldn't even be talking about who's going to be the next president because we have no idea. First and foremost, we haven't even made it past the midterms, right? First and foremost. Second, Trump has told us he could run for a fourth term. Fourth term, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
So, I am very curious, and I've had this discussion with people. Like, I think that there is if it's proven that 2020 was taken from him, I think he has a legitimate argument that he should be afforded 2 consecutive terms to implement his policy without any interference and any. Clearly, when an election's stolen from you, it's to push back and undo your policy. And I think he has a legitimate argument if you can prove that 2020 was stolen, that he should be afforded 2 consecutive terms. So this idea that we're putting JD Vance on a pedestal already, piss off with that.
Yeah, they keep asking him in all these interviews. Just the NBC one that he did, I think 2 days ago or something. They asked him about that. They asked him if he would endorse Rubio or JD Vance and whether he thought either of them should be the next president. And he just says what he always says. They're both great guys. I'm sure either of them could do a great job, but I'm not endorsing anybody. And of course, they also ask him about the fourth term. And he says, yeah, maybe, but I don't think about that right now. Maybe in the future. He doesn't have any responsibility to leave, dude. We're not in a real political scenario right now. I don't know what it's going to take for people to just understand that the way we thought politics operated is not the way politics actually operates. And the federal government has distinct parts. If Donald Trump is taking us back to the republic, he's not doing it hand in hand with the Republican establishment or the conservatives in Congress or any of the other ways that we think about our political kind of partisan representations operating. That stuff's dead. It's gone. Forget about it. Donald Trump is the person in power. He is the commander in chief. He is the one who is doing all of the things that we believe are setting us back on the right course. And then a bunch of things that couldn't possibly be setting us back on the right course. Hopefully rug pulls in the future on those things. Otherwise, we have considerable reason to be concerned about the security state and the rest of it. But he has no responsibility whatsoever to hand things off from a fake election to someone he knows to be a tool of that same establishment. And I don't expect that we're ever going to see that.
I'm right behind that. To me, of all the people in the Trump administration right now, and everybody's kind of given these, kind of off cuff report cards like, oh yeah, Marco Rubio's really impressed me. And he has, to be fair.
He represents part of Donald Trump's program well in public. That's what we know about Rubio. We don't know that he's doing a good job. We don't know any of those things. We know that he represents part of Trump's program well in public.
Exactly. And so my point is of all the people, and I make these same assessments, right? It's what we do.
Sure.
It's my job. JD is the one that I am least, behind in all of this. And so, when I see something like that from CNN of all places coming out and being like, MAGA's, look at this, MAGA's actually really popular, despite the fact we're trying to orchestrate a color revolution and show you that nobody likes this. And then he's like, oh, look, it's gaining in popularity in the GOP. Yeah, this is a psyop that we're watching in real time right here. So let's go ahead and talk about this story briefly because it's nothing new, but I don't know why this is like a new thing. CBS News, who entered Epstein's jail tier the night of his death? Newly released video logs appear to contradict official accounts. Now, this is the logs. We already saw the video, and we can play the video just right here real quick.
Carries a bundle of bedding or clothing up the stairs. It's a rare instance the video does catch movement on the stairs, but barely. Let's see that zoomed in and in slow motion again. Several of the video forensic experts we spoke with were skeptical about the report's conclusion and thought that the video could be showing an inmate walking up the stairs. Authorities say this.
Okay, so that's the story there. Now, the CBS News aspect is that the FBI memorandum that showed the logs from the video has disparate conclusions by the FBI and those examining the same video for the DOJ. So the DOJ and the FBI are not coming to the same conclusions. The FBI describes it as, quote, possibly an inmate, while the DOJ describes it as an officer carrying orange linen or bedding. Now, the only reason, Chris, that this is kind of interesting to me now is because of the findings that Epstein's attorneys were talking with the prosecutors weeks before his death and kind of insinuating that there could be some sort of a negotiation, a plea deal or something along those lines. And then Epstein suicides. And, Ash and I, especially Ash, have long theorized that Epstein is still alive and that he's going to be the big reveal when something finally happens on this.
Yeah, I mean, in some sense, it's kind of already being that. I think that Donald Trump is just firing away on the discombobulator, and that's what the Epstein thing seems to be, as far as I'm concerned. People don't seem to have any grip on this story at all, which I think is really funny.
Yeah. All right. Like I said, nothing too crazy on that. I do want to talk about another story, man. Badlanders, you guys had your chance, man. I was looking for somebody to help me out with this. Let's go ahead and play this ad here. So Ilhan Omar's winery, we had Badlanders that were like, oh, that's my zip code or my area code. And I was like, hey, reach out and if you guys want to go show me what it looks like, I'll put it on the air. Well, Angela Rose on X did exactly that. Now, it's kind of interesting. The guy that's at this place, apparently they're getting like heckled because he comes out and he like freaks out.
Let's see. This is Suite B. Again, that is the address where Ilhan Omar's winery is. You can see that a different winery is here, Punch Down Cellars.
What does this note say?
E Street Crew does not make wine here. They were a client many years ago and have ceased operation. Their operating address is linked to this address like all other client wineries because of state and federal filings. So I wonder what else they have to show for it. What do you think about that?
I think they're just trying to keep as much distance between them and their business and Ilhan Omar's as much as possible.
Yeah.
You guys just do a little more research before.
Well, yeah, that's what we're kind of doing right now.
Would you be so kind to tell us?
Do you know what this place is?
No, that's why we came
It's a
down here.
custom crush place. A bunch of people use it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like renting instead of owning.
Yeah.
So,
I see.
so there's like about 40 of us in here making wine.
Yeah.
So-
We're just trying to like just figure out what is really going on. We see that
Next time, just call because there's nothing going on here. So.
The pastor told us that Punch Down Cellars makes wine for 14 different.
They don't make wine.
Or crushes.
Crush it and you hold it.
We winemakers make wine in the same facility.
Oh, cool.
So.
Which because we.
Let's just say that they don't have a legit business. If they're not there, where are they? Because they went from like $1,500 to like $5 million. So where is their damn business? If it's not registered there, it's got to be somewhere. It's got to be. Nobody can buy their wine. You can't buy it. Their website doesn't work. There's no way to actually do commerce. I mean, come on, man. This isn't a hard one. This is fraud.
Yeah. I am not familiar with the backstory on Ilhan Omar, but this guy seems like he's just like, come on, please get out of here. She's not here.
Oh, so
business to run.
So I probably should have did the backstory. So of all people, Benny Johnson actually went through all of the financials and stuff behind. Well, a lot of people have done it, but he put it together nicely. Went through the financials. This has been reported for months now that her husband has a winery that went from $5,000 in the account to like $5 million worth within a year. Within a year, it's like a 9,000% increase. And Benny Johnson went through all the business records and everything and found that the building they were registered in was like not anything having to do with their company. They screenshot Street View and all that. And so we played it here and I was saying, hey, this is just a Street View, Google Street View. Who knows how old that Street View image is? Because, they don't update it every day. And so I said, somebody, if you're in that area, go check it out. Well, Angela Rose, not that I know her and it wasn't at my behest, but she went and checked it out. And it turns out that it was a wine company, just not Ilhan Omar's wine company.
So I would suspect actually that, and this comes from working in social media and branding. And, part of that is building companies, building new brands, and then figuring out how to market them on social media. And so the idea that someone would start a branded winery and then use one of these facilities where they service a number of clients, they choose kind of the grapes that they want to use in the wine, and then they have their own particular brand made at this facility. But the office for the brand would certainly not be at this site. And then they would sell probably through her influencer network or whatever else. And if you had a well-branded product that would reach a target market that would want to buy a product like that, often because they want to support the celebrity, or in this case, the congresswoman, you could imagine a bunch of upfront sales and then that business nosediving. I could totally imagine that happening in totally legitimate ways. And again, I don't know the backstory on the Ilhan Omar thing, but I do understand how these businesses are run and how a public figure might try to make a quick profit by starting a wine label. Like we could totally do that within 2 weeks and sell Badlands wine. Like that's totally possible.
Let's do it. Badlands wine. I'm all about that.
John, maybe we can figure that out. I'm down
I will
for
be
that.
the brand ambassador. I love me a good red wine, man. Yeah, that very well could happen. They still have their website and everything up. Their phones are all shut down. They don't have a presence online. I mean, maybe they're selling to the government for all their high value elite functions. They're serving.
Are the profits still coming in?
That's a good question.
I mean, that would be the thing. And, you just said the thing about government contracts. It would be terrible if it was a government contract, obviously, but it's not out of the question that someone that she's networked with, legitimately or not, it could be totally corrupt. I'm not saying it's not corrupt, but it's not out of the question that she could have found a client that does catering or something like that, and then just puts that branded wine in through the catering company, and that's what they serve at their events. And she might just be selling case after case after case. Totally possible.
Yeah. So you guys remember this guy, Kyle Wagner? He has now been arrested, and it's cool to see this. I think this guy's such a chicken shit. Like this guy, that video there, he's calling his people out. Come join me on the street corner. Let's fight these ICE bastards and blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as ICE is like, hey, we're coming after you, he runs. Like, I don't know, man. Just a big chicken shit here. It says Kyle Wagner.
You got to love how that very dramatic photo has him in an Antifa sweatshirt. I'm Antifa. There's no way that you could mistake it. And thank goodness he has a face tattoo so everybody recognizes him immediately.
Oh, man.
Police HSI, by the way, Homeland Security Investigations is basically a Homeland Security version of the FBI that they propped up in 2010, just of their own accord. It has virtually no constitutional legitimacy whatsoever. And I think it's an interesting factor of this widespread ongoing PSYOP in Minnesota that this is the organization involved.
I'm with you. I mean, DHS broadly has no constitutional authority, but Kyle Wagner was arrested on federal threat and cyber stalking charges following alleged murder and assault threats against ICE. Quote, this man allegedly doxed and called for the murder of law enforcement officers, encouraged bloodshed in the streets, and proudly claimed affiliation with the terrorist organization Antifa before going on the run, said Attorney General Pam Bondi. And of course, they got to get the Blanche quote in there as well. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says, no surprise that an Antifa terrorist is allegedly threatening to kill and assault federal law enforcement officers as they dutifully remove criminal threats from neighborhoods. And then, of course, you got to get the tattoo there.
Yes.
Right?
He's like growling.
Yeah. It's scary. It's funny, though, because like if you look at this picture minus the word resistance, like that looks more like the neo-Nazis that we think of than anything I've ever seen from MAGA.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, I see this guy and I'm like, bro, blonde hair, blue eyes, tattoos
if you were the crisis actor Nazi LARPer as your career, and then the pendulum swing happened, the reversal happened, just slap that resistance tattoo on. Now he's on the other side. Perfect. What a character this guy is.
Right? I mean, this guy's more for American History X than Edward Norton was. Seriously. Wagner was urged others to, quote unquote, hunt ICE, including those who are, quote unquote, armed to, quote, fight ICE. This is kill or be killed. He described agitators, quote, goal to unmask and identify ICE agents, stop their ability to arrest individuals through group resistance. On January 10th, 2026, Wagner asserted that, quote, we are at effing war, and stated that so either we're going to win or I will die in this process. Wagner stated that he was, quote, not talking about peaceful protests anymore, and urged violence against federal officers. Get your effing guns and stop these effing people. And then they, of course, have the video of the arrests going down. Minus Wagner, they don't show him being taken out of the building, but let me see. This is loud because they got their communist, Bolshevik style, Gladio style whistles. This is sped up too. Should probably slow this down just because the whistling sounds way more obnoxious.
Not needed here in Minnesota. You're not needed here. Your service is not needed here.
Those are Antifa whistles?
Apparently. Let's see. I'm trying to get a picture where they show the crowd. Like
analog psychological warfare.
Oh, there it is. Wait, here it is. Come on. Turn to the right. Come on, turn to the right. Maybe I went too far. All right. Either way, it's like 12 people there. And it is interesting, though, that they made it there while the investigation was going on, almost like they knew that something was going to happen there.
That guy is a walking Fed post.
I know. He's on the run, and he's like, I'm selling hoodies, man, so I can fund my run. So if you want to buy a I'm Antifa hoodie, just jump on over to I'mAntifa.com. And
yeah.
Funny story. We deserve better psyops, guys. From The Guardian, Democrats' 10 demands to rein in ICE, the full list of proposed reforms. How about you just abolish it? Like I'm there with it. Democrats have refused to support long-term funding for DHS unless Republicans agree to reform the tactics, but Republicans have already ruled out many of the ideas Democrats have outlined, including Targeted enforcement. This is what the Democrats' demands are. DHS cannot enter private property without a judicial warrant. I mean, I agree with that. End indiscriminate arrests and improve warrant procedures and standards. Require verification that a person is not a U.S. citizen before holding them in immigration detention. I don't think they've ever required verification that a person is not a U.S. citizen before holding them. How do you verify that you're not a U.S. citizen?
I mean, I guess there's levels to that, but
like, what's the level? Do we hand out not a citizen driver's licenses or something? Like,
I guess they're trying to just make sure that someone is not taken off the street without being certain that they're an illegal alien. I don't know.
Yeah, that one's kind of strange to me.
Trying to make sense of some of this stuff is kind of pointless.
Prohibit ICE and immigration enforcement agents from wearing masks and face coverings. Require DHS. By the way, it's like negative 20 degrees in Minnesota, so maybe they're just trying to keep warm. I don't know. Require DHS officers conducting immigration enforcement to display their agency unique ID number and last name, requiring them to verbalize their number and last name if asked. Prohibit funds from being used to conduct enforcement near sensitive locations, including medical facilities, schools, childcare facilities, and churches, polling places, courts, etc. Prohibit DHS officers from conducting stops, questioning, and searches based on an individual's presence at a certain location. This is fucking stupid. It's not going to go through, so whatever. Oh, my gosh. Ensure state and local coordination. Yeah, there's really nothing good in this. No paramilitary police, guys. Body cameras, they did just, that body cameras is on there. They did just actually, Kristi Noem implemented body cameras for all of them, requiring them to wear those. So
yeah, I don't know how that's not just an obvious expansion of the security state. And they're saying, oh, well, we're going to protect. This is for accountability. It's not for tracking. Well, once you get to the point where everybody just assumes that they're being tracked all the time, nobody's going to care about what method you're using to track them. You can see the security state expanding, and the DHS itself is an expansion of the security state. And the fact that it is linked so heavily to global regime entities and to the neocon project generally, I don't want them doing any more tracking, period. You know, it is what it is. Bad things happen in the world. If you're trying to prevent all the bad things happening in the world, the only way to do that is by absolute total control and surveillance, which is kind of the Peter Thiel model and the Alex Karp model on where they want the country to go. I don't know why we would be in favor of any expansion of that. And particularly because this same entity, DHS, they've been in charge of the borders for the last 2 decades. When has the biggest immigration problem happened, as far as the story is concerned? In the last 2 decades. Where do they? So the Democrats want to allow, this is the two sides of the controlled opposition. The Democrats want to allow illegal aliens into the country because they say it's racist to keep them out. They want to have a better future, blah, blah, blah. On the uniparty right side of things, the corporate interests want low-wage workers. So they want the global migration patterns to continue. And they say, we're going to stop the bad thing that the Democrats are doing. The way we're going to stop it is by increasing technological surveillance at the border. And so they take that program down at the border and tell us it's all about immigration. And then they take it to Minnesota and they say, hey, it's all about immigration. We're going to have to install the same program here. It worked at the border. Now it's going to work here. But don't worry, it's all about getting these illegal aliens out. You guys are going to be just fine.
Yeah. You know who has the most technologically advanced border in the whole entire world?
Israel, I would guess, but
Israel.
Okay.
Flying go-karts defeated it, though.
Exactly. Isn't that amazing?
Just govern, as G would say, govern me harder, daddy.
Yes.
All right, guys, let's move on here. We're going to talk about another sponsor. Have you guys ever wondered what it feels like to shoot with the same precision tech used by U.S. Special Forces? Well, good news. After years of research and development, MCG Tactical just dropped something incredible. The Stinger Combat Sight. This isn't your average red dot. Using holographic technology once reserved for elite military and law enforcement, the Stinger delivers crystal clear precision, so accurate you could hit a dime at 300 yards without even trying. This is the exact same level of technology used by the pros, but here's the twist. Most sites like this go for about $600 or more, and people happily pay it. But right now, through an exclusive deal with MCG Tactical, you can get this mil-spec site for under $200. And it gets better. For my listeners, you're getting 67% off, and they're going to cover the shipping. Just scan the QR code on your screen, or you can go to mcgtac.com/Badlands to get yours today. The only catch is the supply is tight, and these are already flying off the shelf. So if you want a site built for the best, now is your shot. Grab yours before they have to shut down the order. Again, that's mcgtac.com/Badlands. All right, let's jump into, this is going to be the last story. We'll take a few phone calls because it is call-in Friday. Okay.
The link I just sent, somebody in the chat sent that to me.
Oh, okay. What do we got?
Or sent that to us in the chat, I should say.
What is it? Let's see.
Something about this Kyle.
Oh, the guy in the dress. Yeah, I shared this. It's the same guy wearing a dress. He's a big. Imagine having all. Well, I'll just pull it up for a second. Imagine like playing the badass. You're gonna fight everybody and destroy souls, and we're gonna take on ICE, and then you're wearing a dress and big gay earrings, and
it's like it's a psyop or something, and it's like this guy has to establish his left-wing street cred because his right-wing street cred tattoos won't do the job.
It's a good point.
Gosh, man, these people are crazy. And you can play this back through history too. They didn't just come up with this trick, by the way, that the paramilitary kind of live event psyop people are not on one side or the other. Like they'll just swap back and forth. And, Bolsheviks become whatever a few years later.
Nazis.
And then 100 years later, they become
brown shirts.
Yeah. People get really angry when you say that, though, because they're like, no, the Nazis were fighting the communists. No,
the intelligence community's assets were fighting the other intelligence community's assets or their own assets.
In a big display. And then the real people who have some aligned interests with one side or the other end up inserting themselves into these situations and destroying their lives for it. It's crazy, but that is what their system is. And then they recruit all the brave, patriotic, strong, capable men and send them to foreign shores to die.
Yep. Let's jump into this story. There's a lot of reading in this, but I think this was a very well-written piece. It's from the Gateway Pundit's Robert Simonson. Globalist coup, bombshell congressional report says Callan Georgescu national conservative victory was overturned by the EU elites in Romanian court. Now, this is a report that just came out from the House Judiciary Committee, and I have a lot of concerns about why the House Judiciary Committee is submitting a report about an election in a foreign country. But I digress. It is fascinating what they are claiming in this report because it's America. Okay, this is and Chris, you'll pull your hair out. I mean, you don't typically get emotional and emotionally responsive to the news. So I don't think you'll actually pull your hair out. But if you did, you'd be pulling your hair out. I'd be pulling my hair out, but I don't have any hair on the top of my head. According to the findings released by the U.S. House Judiciary Committee days ago, Romania's 2024 presidential election, which saw frontrunner Callan Georgescu unceremoniously banned from running, was not merely mishandled, it was deliberately overturned. The interim congressional report, once again, why the fuck is our Congress writing reports about other countries' elections? But whatever. Published in early 2026, concludes that the Romanian electoral process was subverted through censorship, institutional pressure, and foreign interference originating not from Moscow, as the globalist politicians and their lying lackeys in the mainstream media told us, but from Brussels. Oh, not from Venezuela, but from London. Are we making sense here? The report explicitly states that on December 6, 2024, Romania experienced a de facto coup d'etat when its constitutional court annulled the presidential election results. Georgescu campaigned on national sovereignty, cultural preservation, and opposition to globalist governance, positions that resonated deeply with voters disillusioned by the entrenched, out-of-touch political class. The justification for the annulment rested on a claim that by Romanian intelligence services, widely distributed and poorly substantiated, that Georgescu had benefited from a Russian-backed TikTok operation, allegedly involving 25,000 coordinated accounts. TikTok's own threat intelligence teams repeatedly stated that they found no evidence of a Russian influence campaign tied to Georgescu, nor any coordinated network of the size alleged. The European Commission seized on the unproven narrative to activate its Digital Services Act rapid response censorship mechanisms. These systems empower EU regime-aligned fact-checkers and NGOs, overwhelmingly left-wing and pro-globalist, to issue priority takedown requests for political content during the election. Platforms were pressured to remove national conservative and sovereignist content, silence Georgescu's supporters, ultimately erase his digital presence altogether, and criminalize his opposition. Electoral authorities went so far as to demand that, quote, all materials containing images of Georgescu must be removed, a sweeping order TikTok itself flagged as politically motivated and legally questionable. American lawmakers argue this was no isolated incident. The Judiciary Committee report documents similar EU-driven censorship efforts in France, Germany, the Netherlands, Moldova, Ireland, and Slovakia, all under the banner of combating disinformation. And a key country is missing from that list right there, Chris. And what country would that be?
What was you would have to read the list again.
All
Sorry.
right, let me read the list one more time. France, Germany, the Netherlands. Judiciary Committee report documents similar EU-driven censorship efforts in France, Germany, Netherlands, Moldova, Ireland, Slovakia.
I don't know. UK?
No, the United States.
Got it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, this is the playbook. This is the playbook that we've been talking about for 5 years, 6 years now, that they have been pushing on Americans.
Yes. And so now they're going to tell us that it's the EU stealing elections from Brussels. And that'll be the next step. And it's good that people are understanding that an underlying claim of the EU stealing elections is that elections are stolen. So I'm happy to have that part of it brought in. But the idea that the EU is doing this is just as silly. And it's funny that the same illegitimate Congress is attempting to make that the story now. And so be it. It's better than people not understanding that elections are stolen. But at the same time, it pushes the responsibility elsewhere, and it doesn't account for the fact that these people can't prove their own legitimacy in office, that elections here are stolen, and that they are trying to push the blame on someone else. It is Americans who have allowed these elections to be stolen, Americans who have benefited from them, and Americans who installed these systems to run our elections in the first place, many of them in the same body that is now pretending to hold them accountable. So sorry, I don't buy it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that this is, if we get to the point where they're pivoting to, then saying that it's the globalists that are actually the ones controlling, I totally welcome that.
Me too. It's just not the end of the story.
Exactly. It's not the end of the story. It's and that would be some pretty big vindication right there. If we got to that point. I mean, I think it's enough to show that it wasn't, Venezuela and the Maduro regime,
Yeah, they've given up on that pretty quickly, huh?
Well, kind of, yes and no. It is.
I'm not saying the purveyors of that op have given up on it. I'm just saying that in general, the attention, that balloon's already deflated.
Right. I'm with you on that. Hold on one second. I'm trying to, for some reason, I got logged out of, might not be able to do phone calls here. Maybe. Hold on. Maybe not. Shit. For some reason, it logged me out. I've been logged into this for 4 years, and I'm logged out now.
What thing are you talking about? Like the Google Voice?
Google Voice. Yeah, Google Voice. That is very strange that I had a reset here somehow. And I'm not going to be able to do it. Unfortunately, I will not be able to do it today. I'll have to figure that out so that next week we can. Well, on that note, I do have a couple more stories that we could get to real quick. Here we go. So we'll stay on geo for a moment here, geopolitics. Russian general shot several times in Moscow. This is just breaking coming down. high-profile Russian, a high-profile general in Russia's military has been shot several times and wounded in Moscow. Lieutenant General Vladimir Alexeyev was immediately taken to a hospital after the attack in a residential block on the outskirts of the Russian capital. Alexeyev is number 2 in the main directorate of Russia's GRU military intelligence. Jump down here. It says that Alexeyev has played a significant role during the war in Ukraine, taking part in talks with Ukraine during the Russian siege of the city of Mariupol in 2022. He was also sent to negotiate with the head of the Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin.
Yevgeny Prigozhin. That's he's such an amazing character, honestly.
He's the bald guy with the cigar hanging out of his mouth character.
Indeed. Yeah, and he was gonna march on Moscow. He was taking his military contracting organization, and he was gonna march on Moscow. He stopped his march 1,000 miles short with no proof that he actually marched anywhere. And then shortly after that, he was declared dead on a private jet or whatever. He is a film production person. And I think it was the Hollywood Reporter, did an amazing report on him. I did an entire episode on Yevgeny Prigozhin back in like the summer of 2023, I think. It's called, if anybody wants to look at the Substack, it's called TMFINR. Like, this motherfucker is not real.
It's not real.
Yeah. And it was around the same time that thing came out. And the Yevgeny Prigozhin thing is so funny and so entertaining.
All right. Oh, wait.
Sorry.
Hey. No, you're good. You're good.
I love him. I love him.
I think I might have actually figured out the Google voice. Maybe not.
Oh, nice.
Maybe not. I lied.
Uh-oh. That's not
Google is so ridiculous. Like, they make up email addresses. Have you ever noticed that? Like, when you try and sign into Google, like, I have email addresses that I've never made before. Like, I've never made a Gmail email address, but I have like 30 of them.
That is very strange, and I have no idea what.
Yeah. Anyways, it says he was sent to negotiate with the head of the Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, who led a short and bloody mutiny in June of 2023. It was very bloody, 1,000 miles. His boss at the GRU, Igor Kostyakov, has been in charge of Russia's negotiating team, taking part in talks on security issues with the U.S. and Ukraine and Abu Dhabi. Kiev has not commented, or Kyiv, as Chris would call it, has not commented on the shooting. It's kind of strange because there's like this talk going on right now, or the idea of opening up dialogue between Putin and Macron. And Peskov came out and was like, "That's pathetic." Oh, let's play that clip. Hold on, I do have that clip. Let's play this clip here of Peskov talking about Macron.
Macron announced yet again about 2 weeks ago that he might call Putin sometime. That's not serious. It's pathetic diplomacy. If you want to call and have a real conversation, just call. Putin will always answer the phone. He'll always listen to any proposal. And if serious proposals are on the table, I can assure you that they won't go without a serious, concrete, practical response. I won't hide it. We do have contacts with some European leaders. They call us and ask that these conversations not be made public. Some even show up here and communicate through back channels. But nothing they tell us about their ideas in these closed, confidential exchanges differs in any way from what they say publicly. The same appeals. Let's wrap this up. Something has to be done. They just kept saying the same things. Let's bring it to a close. Let's do something. I don't see Europe taking up any real position. They've walked into their own trap by adopting this uncompromising stance that I mentioned earlier, when they insisted on Russia's strategic defeat, saying Ukraine cannot lose, Russia cannot win, or else Europe loses face.
By the way, that's Lavrov, not Peskov. I think I said Dmitry Peskov, not Sergei Lavrov. He's basically saying there that Macron realizes that they've been pushing an absolute bullshit narrative that Ukraine actually has a chance. So they're going to slowly cower back to Russia and ask them to negotiate. And Russia's like, hey, we've been here the whole time. You can talk anytime you want, but you're actually an enemy combatant in this war, even though you're not physically putting troops in the way. But you've been the ones that have been our enemies in this fight, but we're still here ready to talk to you if you want to talk, and quit being a bitch and just do it.
Love it. I also love that translator's accent for Sergei Lavrov. It sounds absolutely nothing like him, but it is kind of badass.
Yeah, and they go on. I mean, that was actually a really good interview. I want to watch the whole thing because I've watched a few clips of it, and it's pretty good stuff. So, Tweeter Trash says you may want to dig into those emails if you didn't make them. Someone using your identity to make accounts. No, they like anytime you try and log into Gmail, I think they actually make a Gmail account with your account. They take off like at Yahoo or at Proton and add Gmail to it. I don't know, because I don't log into any of them. I don't know. It's one of those things, like if you go and look and see how many accounts you actually have and you have like, you're shocked by it. So, all right, we will do phone calls next week. I'll get it figured out. Jumping into rants here. Steph B 4729 says, congratulations on your big story, CannCon. Great job. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Vera Barrel 1 just wanted to say thank you for all you doing and much love from Toronto. Stay warm. Canada, eh? Thank you so much. Leslie 0269. No, because some insurance pay less than Medicare and Medicaid amounts. I think that's saying that Medicare and Medicaid kind of set the tone. But they still drive the market, though. I mean, when you say less, I'm sure it's not that much less, you know. Kairos 5326. May God's blessings continue to strengthen and inspire you, gentlemen, and all of Badlandia. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jep 8863. We have all the data. Next phase is to rip out the root of the corruption. To do so, if you put or passed a bill or law that goes against the Constitution, quick trial, same day, hang for treason.
That is how a certain segment of the founders would have wanted that handled.
Yeah, I agree.
It is absolutely a violation of the oath to the Constitution to pass laws that do not comport with the original Constitution. And we have 250 years of that happening with zero accountability for the people who do it.
Amen. Amen. Jep then says, remove all protections from media. You're accountable for what you put out. If you put or push propaganda, gaslight that goes outside First Amendment, quick trial, same day, then punishment carried out.
I'm not sure I agree with that one.
Going to disagree with that one, as am I.
Yeah. Who is the arbiter of what is propaganda or gaslighting? The people need to solve that problem on their own. We cannot be looking to the state to tell us what is true and not true, or what we should be listening to. Yeah, that one I'm not on board with at all.
I agree. And I do believe there should be accountability for bad media, but it's not through the government. It's not through more government. It's through what we're witnessing right now with Washington Post firing a third of their staff. Now, do I think I don't think Washington Post revenue has ever been organic. I think it's always been propped up by the government, and we just haven't uncovered that yet. Remember when we saw Politico was being paid, they were paying millions of dollars for their whatever it was, exclusive access service or whatever the hell it was. I think the same. Remember that? Well, I think the same thing's been happening with Washington Post for a long ass time.
Steve Bannon calls it the Langley Bugle.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they're all Langley Bugle, Washington Post, New York Times, Reuters, BBC. It's either Langley or I don't know what the equivalent in England is, the MI6, MI5 Bugle, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, there you go. All right. And D-Dale became a monthly supporter. Thank you so much, D-Dale. Or as Alpha calls you, D-Dale, because he's Spanish and more Mexican. And he said that yesterday. I was like, it's D-Dale, bro. Stop being Pitbull.
Man, the Valentine's Day kills me. I love it. And Gusha, dude. I was thinking about Gusha yesterday.
Listen to him say Venezuela. He says Venezuela. He adds an N before the Z. Venezuela.
I love it.
I love Alpha. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Smash that thumbs up and have a great weekend. Tune into Why We Vote tonight at 7:30. Chris, what do you got coming up?
DPH tomorrow with John. And otherwise, everything is on the Substack scene there. I'm your moderator.substack.com.
All right. And by the way, I will be on allegedly, I'll be on Stinchfield tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time before Why We Vote. I got to remember that. I got to set an alarm now. And also badlandsmedia.substack.com. I've got my article still up there. And you should be reading the brief every day anyways. But my article's still up there. Share it out. And let's get this in the mainstream somehow. Somebody cover this. U.S. Senator, GBI, under oath.
Just make them respond to it in some way. I want to know what the response is.
I mean, they don't know how to handle this. It's like diehard Trump supporters are attacking a Republican governor by a Republican U.S. senator. It's like, this is awesome. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.